I'm Olivia Otieno. This is Double O Direct Saturdays. Woman host, music by women, women guests. And today is day 2 of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And one thing is very clear. GBV is not happening out there. It's happening in our homes. It's happening in our schools, in our offices, in our streets. It's happening to the young, the old, the rich, the poor. It knows not of religion. It doesn't care if you never finished primary school, high school, if you have a PhD. But you know what? Let these 16 days of activism against gender-based violence act as a reminder that our suffering is not unseen, it is not unheard, and the world needs to come together to bring it to an end. So, SpiceFM KE, SpiceFM KE, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. The question is, where do you feel most unsafe? Where do you feel most at risk of gender-based violence? Where do you feel most at risk of a GBV attack? Is it at home, at school, at work, on the streets, at a bar, at a restaurant, public spaces? Remember, SpiceFM KE, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And speaking of attacks, with me are some of the cast and crew of the new Kenyan movie, Mercy. Ladies, welcome to Double O Direct.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Olivia.
Introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about you and the role you play in the movie Mercy.
My name is Njoroge Karani. I am a singer, songwriter, and a film composer. I composed the theme song for Mercy, and I am also in the film as Sister Beatrice. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mariam Anyango Toure, and I am an actress and model, and I play Mama Mercy in the film Mercy.
Hi, I'm Georgia Fernandez. I am the writer of Mercy. I also am an architecture student, but yeah, I wrote the film.
Hi, I'm Tana Gashoka. I'm an actress. I play Mercy in the film Mercy, and yes.
I got a call. It was on Tuesday from Ian Fernandez. Anybody in media in Kenya knows Ian Fernandez. And he's like, Olivia, there's a new movie. It's premiering on Thursday. My daughter wrote it. I was like, your daughter? You have kids? You don't just spend time torturing people? No, I didn't do that. I didn't. I was like, okay, great. She has to come on to the... She's like, no, I don't think Georgia can come on to your show. You know, it's her mother's birthday. Happy birthday, Paloma. You're going to sing happy birthday to Paloma. Not now. Yeah, but your voice is... incredible. I'm not putting you on the spot, but just you're gonna sing, all right? That's gonna be happening, Georgia. So I want to understand. Am I allowed to say how old you are?
Yeah.
So you're 21 years old, yeah. And I sort of think about my producer Mumbi. No, actually, we were seated in the audience, Adele Onyango and I, and she was like 21, 21, 21. You know, we're just scouring our data banks, you know, for what we were doing back then. She's like, no, I was actually working. So she was actually working. But you're 21 years old. You're an architecture student. You grew up, let me tell you, as the daughter of Ian Fernandez in relative, and this is the term young people are using now, soft life. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You know, there was the movie Nairobi Half-Life. You grew up in Nairobi Soft Life.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And yet you have co-written this incredible, harrowing tale of hardship and despair. Did you just go against everything you experienced in your whole life to say, okay, the opposite of my happiness? Give me the genesis of this story, Georgia.
So actually, my family have been doing a lot of work with children's homes and building schools across the country. And a few years ago, I was introduced to Ruth Odhiambo, who the movie is actually dedicated to. And, you know, she started telling me all these stories about all these girls who'd gone through so much more than obviously I had. But telling me stories of not just like what they went through, but how they came out of it and how they persevered through it. And I was thinking to myself, like, I can't be the only one listening to these stories. Somebody else needs to hear these stories of perseverance and bravery and resilience. And I think that's where the first storyline or inspiration for the script came up. And from then I knew that, you know, film does have the ability to make an impact. And from that film, then we could probably start a movement to really change and make an impact for many young girls across the country.
I'm blown away by that. I'm completely blown away by that. And something that some of you may not know, Mariam, how many years ago did we first meet?
Okay, so Olivia, we met in 2008.
Yeah. So
that was about 10, 15?
No, that's about 14 years ago. So did you win Catwalk Kenya?
No, I did not win, but I was among the finalists.
I met a young Mariam as, well, she's still gorgeous. She's still model-esque, you know, on a competition to find Kenya's next top model, right? So I know Mariam as a model. The Mariam I saw in the movie Mercy, I'm like, I'm sorry, girl, but modeling, as great as you are at it, pales to your acting capabilities. So what did it take from you to reach in and develop that character? Because you play Mercy's mother, and you guys are not that far off in age. It's are you that far off?
I'm 20.
You're 20 and you play a 15-year-old brilliantly.
I'm 35, so I wasn't
We're not
too far.
Not too far. You know what I mean? So firstly, transition from modeling to acting. How did you hear about the role? How did you hear about the movie? And what did it take to bring out that character?
Okay, so like you said, I'd been modeling for a very long time, almost 10 years. And for me, the logical step after modeling was acting, because the difference, I would say, you know, modeling, you really have to be composed and really always have everything looking perfect. And that's acting was completely different for me because now I have to be vulnerable. And that is something that I was looking for because I was looking to deepen my creative endeavors in that sense. Not to say that modeling is not deep enough, but I guess I was just trying to express myself differently from this point on. And I wanted people to see me differently also.
How did you end up being cast as Mercy's mother?
Okay, the audition went out. I sent in an audition tape and I got the call back. And so
I love how people never give details. It went out, an audition, I got the call. Yes, I know, because I've seen you in the movie. So what I want to find out is who sent out the call? When was the call? How did that go? What was your audition tape like? And then who called you? Was it Georgia Fernandez herself? You know?
Okay, so we auditioned for Mercy, I think in June, right? Mid-June. There was this really nice poster that just said Mercy. And honestly, I looked at the roles and there was Mama Mercy who was 35. And then you had all these young girls. And initially I was like, what? I look young. I could probably play a Benta who's like 21. So initially I actually auditioned for a completely different role. I got a call back. And when I get there that morning, the casting director, Isaiah, he's like, okay, he gives me a different script and he's like, do Mama Mercy. And for me, I was like, how can I play? I did not expect to play a mother. I did not expect any of it. And so, yeah, I just did it. I went in front of the panel. That's the first time I saw Georgia and Zippy. And I think Mr. Fernandez, Ian was there as well. And so they just told me to act a scene. And I was so nervous. And I think from the nervousness, that's what actually gave it a bit of a realistic edge, because they're like, okay, just, you know, she was sick, like you said, having cancer and all that. So I just sat there. And I just like really went deep inside. And actually what I was thinking is like, I hope I'm doing good. I hope they like me. I hope they like me. I really do. And it just brought me to this space. And I believe they liked my performance then. And so I actually knew they would cast me then. But I was just being humble.
What about you, Tanaga Shoka? Is this your first major acting role?
This is the first film I've ever done. The only other role I've done besides this is Pa, which I did earlier this year, but I only started acting last year.
So tell me about your acting journey, what got you into it and how you found out about the movie Mercy.
Well, I've always really loved acting. It's always been something so important to me. When I was younger, I did a lot of Lambda, but as I got older, it just seemed like quite an unrealistic dream. So I was actually supposed to study engineering, mechatronic engineering.
What is mechatronic engineering?
Mechatronic engineering is like a combination of electronic engineering and mechanical engineering. So it's for things like robotics, for cars, because they're becoming quite automated. But it was like an issue of like money to go to university.
I'm not wanting to work for Elon Musk.
When I was younger, like I really actually, anywho,
Yeah.
but I found like we just didn't have the money at the time. And so someone told me audition for The Sound of Music. So I auditioned. And then someone told me audition for this. So I auditioned. And then it got to Mercy. And I saw the poster and I thought, I'm never going to get this audition. So I sent in like photos and audition video, and then we got called back for something. And I remember the first day I thought I did so badly. And so I went home in tears to my mom. I was just feeling horrible. And my email, I don't know what happened, but the email for the callbacks only came to me like really late, like early in the morning. So I woke up in the morning. I'm like, Mom, I have to go for a callback. She's like, now. I'm like, now. So I'm like rushing to Nairobi, and then I reach.
I like I say, rushing to Nairobi.
From Thika.
Oh, okay.
From Thika, where I stay with my mom. And I was so late and everyone had already finished. So they were like, no, just learn learn all these ones and then you will try it with everyone. And everyone was like, no, we're just waiting for you. And I remember just Georgia, Zippy, Ian, Justice, they were all so kind and so helpful. And they really helped me get into this mindset, the frame to do my best. And it's one of the best auditions I've ever had in my life because it was it was people who are really trying to help you do your best. And
I love that you've had that experience, Tana, but she's young and it was like her first movie. So not everything is going to be like that, but we're happy your first experience was great. Moving back to you, Njoroge, and as a singer-songwriter, actor, what is your process in songwriting? Because you blew us away with that track. I'm just about to play it actually. What is it called?
It's called Mercy.
So the song title track is called Mercy from the movie Mercy.
Yeah.
And this is a movie about gender-based violence at its core.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say a young girl is attacked, and there's so many other things that go into it. It's very emotional.
Yeah.
It's where did you get those feelings from to develop this song?
This was so, I'm not going to say like so easy, but it really was because the script had already laid out the map for me. So I just like from the first table read that we had, I already had like the melody for the song when I got home. So it kept pressing me. So I sat down and I wrote like the chorus of it, and I was like, I'm going to pitch this to Georgia the next time I see her. And I started now writing the song based on the information on the script. So it was just like that simple.
So you wrote it, composed the music, and you also performed the song?
Yes, I did.
You're like a quadruple. Right? Yeah. But so here from, the latest Kenyan movie called Mercy, here's the title track, Mercy. As I continue my conversation with the cast crew from the new Kenyan movie Mercy. They call it a short film, but it's a decent length. I think it was absolutely perfect. Given the heaviness of the topic, it's all Adele and I could do not to break out into tears. But seriously, Mercy has a very strong gender-based violence theme. So tell me, Georgia, did that influence the release date of the short film, given that, we're now in the 16 days of activism and, of course, the Think Twice movement attached?
Yeah, so the Think Twice movement for me is we're hoping that this movie starts a movement that would push men across Kenya and across the world, hopefully, to think twice before, you touch a girl or assault a girl, because there are repercussions that come from it. And, with the movie, there's a very strong message of all the things that do go wrong after those 5 seconds or like however long of pleasure that happens to a girl, and how many lives from that are affected. And
ruined. How many lives are ruined. Yeah.
But, from the Think Twice movement, we're hoping that it's something that people across the country can look up to and join in to support girls across the country, and everyone can become somebody who can protect girls in Kenya and around the world. So when coming up with the movie release date, we did think about the 16 days of activism to launch the new movement that we wanted to start stem from the movie to really help impact, girls across Kenya.
I'm going to go to you, Tana. Drawing from what I saw on screen, there was so much emotion, there was so much passion, I believed you were that person. Do you have where did that come from when playing a role of a victim, when playing the role of a survivor?
I think I found I had so much in common with Mercy that even like upon the first reading, I didn't necessarily know how deep it went. But it sounds counterintuitive, but I really drew from like a lot of people's strength, a lot of sexual assault survivors I know, myself, that strength to carry on, to smile, to look for the positivity in life. Because I feel like that's what makes that sadness more deep. The fact that these people have these happy lives that are called into question, that are put in jeopardy. And people don't think, like people do come to this subject a lot, like every year, when we have like 16 days of activism, but it doesn't ever stay in people's minds for long enough.
Where do you feel unsafe as a young woman? Firstly, do you feel safe?
That was what I was going to say. I don't know if I ever truly feel safe. And I feel like it's because I feel like the responsibility of my safety has been put on me completely and totally. So even when I'm in my house all alone, I think about the fact that someone might just come into my house, and not because they had planned to come in and like rape someone, but because I'm a woman and I'm there, they might as well, which is such a horrific thought to think, because it's insane that you can not plan to do something so horrific to someone, change someone's life so dramatically, but you do it off the drop of a hat, a whim that you had, a fleeting feeling that will go away in a few minutes if you left it. And I don't hear a lot that... it's sexual assault is not something that people ask for, or it's a matter of you were in this place, you were wearing this or that. It is a matter of people disrespecting and defiling people. And it's completely on them. It has nothing to do with us. But I don't really feel safe anywhere, to be honest.
What about you, Mariam? It's interesting because you've had the experience of living in Kenya and living in Canada. And I remember meeting you when you were much younger. And I thought to myself, wow, but now thinking about where we are and the situation globally, can you draw any comparisons between your well-being and your safety whilst you're here in Nairobi vis-a-vis whilst you're living in Canada?
Well, obviously it's very different. Like you said, it's very different. I would even add to that living in Kenya, in Canada, in Tunisia, in Mali, and I think already culturally, because Canada is a Western world, and those countries have like seemingly more rights. But for me, what I wanted, because as a model, especially as a model, I wouldn't talk about sexual violence per se, but there has been a form of violence against me and against many women, because models are not, like, in most countries it's not really considered a profession, and you have this thing where it's your work and you're supposed to look or be a certain way, but then you also always feel that pressure of someone misinterpreting.
Do you feel people feel they have the right to touch your body, comment on your body, curate your body? Do you feel like as a model, your rights, especially that of your physical self,
Exactly.
there were no boundaries.
There are no boundaries. And also with the, we need social media. So, I mean, you post, let's say, a picture, and for you, it's work, basically. But then you get very funny, very funny comments sometimes. And it's something that, okay, I've dealt with on social media.
Harassment.
I'm going to change that from funny to abusive.
Abusive, yes. Abusive comments. And both on social media and in real life, because okay, as a model, there's a way you should look, there's a way you act, basically, and it really comes off as I would use the term maybe for certain people, easy, like this girl who, like, I don't know, who's like selling herself or selling her body. So that I've experienced a lot, especially in Tunisia and in Mali. Like, those are like Muslim countries, so the background is like completely different. So I experienced that a lot, and I guess for me also, to a certain extent, that's what made me want maybe to transition to acting, because at one point I felt like this job is not respectful, whatever that means.
I like that you brought that up, because I was just thinking, you're the same person. But do you feel now you're going to get more respect as a woman because now you're an actor as opposed to a model?
Yes, definitely. And that is even with like family. I wouldn't even go like very far. Even within the family, you get comments from like uncles, aunts, and, to my mom, and it's like, what is she doing? People talk. So now with acting, it's still not very accepted, I would say, but it's better. I mean, for people, you say you're an actor, you say you're a model, because modeling is basically not a job for most people.
Wow, that is. So, do you have the same experience, Natari, as a singer-songwriter, but you're also a composer, you're an actor? What were your challenges and also your triumphs when working on the movie Mercy?
I think when we first read the script, I was really triggered by it. And I was like, I'm so honored to be in this movie because it tells a story that I want to be part of. And when I was writing the theme song, I sat down and I was like, what happens to everyone who cannot be able to speak about the abuse that they faced, or be vocal about it because they're scared people would believe them, or like the stereotype that comes with it, or the stigma that comes with it. So I sat down, and some of it was from like a personal experience, because I was like, there was a day like something really horrific happened to me, and I had to like go for an audition the next day and just act like nothing happened like the previous night. So I was triggered, I think, in the right way to write the song. So that song means so much to me. And I'm just so grateful that I got to write it and I got to be part of this movement. Because
there's something you've said that is so interesting. You had to act like nothing had happened the night before. So my question is, are we feeling unsafe around men? Are we feeling unsafe in general? Because the question is, where are the women who are supposed to be guiding and supporting and believing you? Because it seems like you were not able to share your experience, with somebody close. So, and I'm going to ask this to all the women here today. Yeah. Do you find it hard even to communicate when it comes to gender-based violence with other women?
Close friends, I think it's easier to tell them because you know that there's no judgment there. They'll accept you, they'll understand, and some of them will share the stories that they've gone through as well. And then now you're like, something is bringing us together, and it's not in a good way. We're supposed to feel safe, and sometimes you just don't. You walk out to your house and that's it. You don't know what's going to happen to you. You're a happy person going out. When you come back, it's a totally different thing. And some people have failed because instead of telling us to speak out, they've told us to protect this. Like, there's that aspect of protecting people because you're certain that they won't believe you. There's always something in it.
When you say they, and I'm sorry to press on this point, are we talking about other women? Because for me, one of my strongest focuses is that believe women. Yeah? Believe women. Believe them. right? Number one, believe women. So my question is, to you is, you're protecting a perpetrator. I just want to make sure that we have all the titles correct.
Yeah.
You're protecting the perpetrator because you feel that no one will believe you if you stand up or if you speak out against an attack that you faced.
Yeah.
1 in 4 women, it is estimated, has been a victim of gender-based violence. And there are 5 of us here, right? So at least one of us has experienced gender-based violence. And Tana said something about not feeling safe and that our safety has been put solely on us. I want to ask you, Georgia, because you're an architect student and you're studying in Syracuse in the US. Do you act differently when you're here vis-a-vis in the US, not just because your parents are here, but also with regards to how you move around?
Yeah, I definitely think in the US there are definitely more resources for people who face sexual assault, and even for friends who've gone through that. Seeing how they are able to get the help they need in the US is so much different to seeing people in Kenya having the same opportunity to get those resources, because they're just not that available. And also I feel like in Kenya it's really hard because every kind of 3 weeks on the news you're hearing a new story, or on social media a new story about people who've been sexually assaulted, and it's like a big social media uproar for like 2 days, and then like the next day it's done, and then the cycle continues after 3 weeks. And I think that's something also about the movie that was the Think Twice movement, was like, it shouldn't be like a 2-day thing where we get mad and we fight for the women, and then the third day it's like, oh, we forgot about it, it's gone, like it's over, like it's not over. And then in 3 weeks we hear another story, and it kind of comes closer and closer to home. And so I feel like it's definitely different. In Kenya I feel safer because I do have my family, but at the same time, when you're constantly surrounded by all these stories of girls who face so much assault and have nowhere to go or no one to tell, and it's definitely, you treat it very different in the US, where there's places that they can get help. But here I think we need more of that. We need more resources for girls.
Tana, you're one of the youngest people here, yourself and Georgia. And now you're venturing into a very public space with regards to an acting career. Do you feel that there are enough resources to protect women and girls from gender-based violence? And what more needs to be done in order to end this illegal and insane action?
I'd say there's definitely not enough there's actually a pitiful amount of resources, and the way that they function is pitiful. It's so upsetting. Because the first time I think someone harassed me was, I think I was 16 and I was doing a work internship for something. And I was 16 and this was like a grown man, and I remember being so scared to tell anyone because it was a woman who got me the job. So I asked her, I went to tell her, she said, oh, it's okay, he just does that sometimes, he won't speak to you again, don't worry about it. And he was telling me send pictures of yourself in bed, and and he was sending me pictures of himself in bed. And I just feel like it's not necessarily the issue that people won't believe you, it's just people aren't willing to do anything about it. And that is where I do get very upset, and I think it's so important. And that's exactly what Georgia's saying. Mercy is not something that is supposed to be a 2-day affair. It is to not just to open a conversation, but keep it open, keep it on people's minds. Because yes, every so often we have these outroars, this overabundance of people feigning support for someone. And even men will be like, oh no, I'm against rape, but I don't know how many men are actively trying to help provide safety and resources and actually understand where this kind of fear comes from.
And not saying that, oh, but they were married, so it's not rape.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or that's your girlfriend, why would your boyfriend wouldn't do that to you? And it's just ridiculous, because there's no other situation in life that we would say that dependent on your relationship with someone is whether they're allowed to do something. Your parents aren't allowed to beat the crap out of you. They're not allowed. It doesn't matter if they're your parents. You're not allowed to touch anyone without their consent. And I'm actually so grateful for younger girls especially, because like my nieces, they were being taught at school a song, and it's like a very upbeat, fun song, but it's like no one's allowed to touch me here, there, they're not allowed to kiss me there, not allowed to do anything there. I never heard anything of the sort until I was an adult.
Yes.
Like virtually an adult. And it's sad that we do have to tell young girls this from such a young age, but I don't see what the alternative is besides educating young people and young boys especially. We need to teach young boys from a young age that even further than not to touch other young girls, to not allow themselves to be touched by older women, because it's not just a one-way street. A lot of young boys in Kenya are sexually assaulted, and they don't believe they are sexually assaulted because they're being a man, they're being macho, they're being tough. So I think it's just about people understanding that children are children, and we are not to touch children, we are not to do anything wrong to children. They are children, and even if they weren't children, they're human beings. Why can't we just have that basic compassion?
On your computer, on your smart TV, on the homepage, standardmedia.co.ke. This is 00 Direct. I'm 00. And according to my Samsung Watch 5 Pro, I still have almost 10 minutes. Yeah, let me say 13 minutes with the ladies from the new Kenyan movie Mercy. The movie has sparked, see what I did there with the song? The Think Twice movement. I love how they like laugh on cue. Like it's like a hotkey. So perpetrators of a very serious topic, gender-based violence, think twice before committing these gender-based acts of violence. I'm talking to Tana. I'm talking to Mary. I'm talking to Georgia. I'm talking to songstress. By the way, it's really, really unfair, yeah, that I don't have several of your tracks because, you know, you've heard of Nikita Caring?
Yes, I have. I love her.
No, we love you.
Oh,
we love Nikita. We love you. We love talent. We love talented women who are acting, who are modeling, who are writing, who are singing. And I need you to sing a track before we parting words. Yeah. Okay. It is Paloma Fernandez's birthday. Paloma is Georgia's mom, Ian's wife. They're couple goals. Let me tell you, there's Michelle and Barack. Then there's Ian and Paloma.
That's true.
They're like, it's true, right? It's true. Your parents are phenomenal. So I need you, Ntanyari, and you, Tana. We're going to keep quiet because we don't sing for nothing. To sing Happy Birthday to Paloma. Okay. Let's go. Everybody else's mic is off.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Paloma. Happy birthday to you.
Oh my goodness, it is amazing, amazing, amazing. So Tana, you're a double threat. I see that you are a singer and an actor, and you are every threat. You're like probably an engineer on the side. You know, you're probably offering relief aid food somewhere. In Tanyari, we're gonna have to come back, just you, so we can, you know, unpack all of your talents. Slowly. All right. But now, with regards to the movie Mercy, with regards to the 16 days of activism, with regards to the theme of gender-based violence and how we can keep women and girls safe and away from the threat of violence, I would like your parting words because our time is almost up, but the movement, Think Twice, should continue. So I'm going to start with you, Georgia.
So, I think something really important was brought up by Tana earlier. It's how young girls are taught how to protect themselves. And then it's also one of the things where a lot of women who come out with their stories face victim blaming about how it's their fault, what they were wearing, what they were drinking. But honestly, I think that it's something that just, if you're a man, like, don't touch a woman, like, unless she says yes. Consent is a big thing. But that's one of the things about the movement is, you know, it's helping you think twice before you do that, and it's making you it's kind of like staying in your minds, and hopefully it will stay in everyone's minds, that sexual assault is wrong, rape is wrong, and if somebody doesn't consent to something, then it means no. If it's not a yes, it means a no. And so I'm hoping that this movie does spark this movement, and I'm hoping that everyone can join us with thinking twice before you do something, especially to young women and young children across the country. But yeah, that's
Thank you, George and Tanyari. Your parting words?
My parting words would be kind. Please always ask for consent. Even if it's as little as a hug, just always ask for consent. Yeah.
Tana?
Something that Georgia mentioned that's and also Nari, is that consent is so important. So there's this book, The Sex Lives of African Women.
I need to read that.
Start today. And it talks about how sex should be with enthusiastic consent. That is enthusiastic. It's not.
Because there's a lot of fear.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's a lot of gray areas with sex, especially with drinking, with all of these things. So there's always tomorrow, there's always the next day. But in terms of what we can do to keep young people, young women safe, is every single person in our society needs to be focused on this. It's not something we can do, half of us, a quarter of us. Everyone together must agree, and we must come together to say, we are not going to allow this to happen to people. We are not going to we are going to punish people for it. And it's always upsetting to have to say you have to punish people, but there must be consequences for things like this, because it ruins someone's life. And if you can ruin someone's life without consequence, that's not fair.
That's not a human society. Mariam, your parting words?
Okay, for me, a girl or a woman, for a girl or a woman, the first place that we should talk about safety is at home. And like Nitari was saying earlier, I think for me, this movie is not only for men, but it's also for women. It's also for our mothers, our aunts, because as a woman, when you get sexually assaulted, I think the first people you would feel comfortable with would be your mom, your sister maybe. And unfortunately, most times in our societies, and that's the difference, I think, with Canada and all these sort of countries, the first judgment would come from your family. And so for me, this movie is not only for men, but I think also for women and our moms. And we are not really blaming them. I guess it's just a cultural thing, but we need to be there. They need to be there for us. Like Tana was saying, maybe their generation is different. You know, they're doing songs and all that kind of stuff at school. But for like us, older women, I mean, talking to your mom, you can't even think about, because the first judgment will probably come from there. So yeah, I really hope that this movie will really spark, like she said, not just 16 days of activism, like just really plant a deeper seed of consciousness for all of us, men, women, children, family, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Where is the movie available, Georgia? Now, we've talked about it for an hour. Don't tell me, but you might not get it ever. Where can we watch the movie Mercy?
So the movie right now will be on Trace TV, which is across Africa. And in the future, we are hoping to see it on Showmax and across news stations, because we do want this movie to be as widely distributed as possible for free. Please don't pay for it anywhere. And yeah, if you also want to keep up with the movement, follow Think Twice movement on Instagram, and it's on Twitter. And Mercy the Movie is also there. So for any information you need about the film, there's Mercy the Movie KE on Instagram.